Welcome to the PeakDay podcast, where we talk about fertility and natural family planning with our friends. Today, I am joined by Nick Vicinanzo, Couple to Couple League's ministry consultant. A New Hampshire native and one of 12 children, Nick studied at Franciscan University of Steubenville and earned his MFA from Brown University before working professionally as an actor. You may also recognize Nick from Family Theater Productions Catholic Central. While he continues his acting ministry, Nick works for Couple to Couple League as we partner with dioceses and parishes to strengthen marriage formation through natural family planning. Welcome to the PeakDay podcast, Nick.
Thank you so much, Martha. It is a pleasure to be here.
Well, I am so happy to have you on the program. You've just been with Couple to Couple League a few short months, and you are already up and running.
Yes, currently in my 5th month with Couple to Couple League, and it's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of learning, starting to understand this ministry from another angle. Because of course this is a ministry that my wife and I live out in our marriage. This is something I've heard about. Going to Franciscan and going to Catholic schools and just being a Catholic, you hear the term NFP a lot. But my discovery is once you kind of, the veil is lifted and you work in this ministry, it's totally different. You learn a lot.
Yeah. You're learning the lingo and you're learning all the ins and outs. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as it seems, maybe.
No, it truly is not. But it's a good thing to do, a good thing to pursue nonetheless.
Isn't it? It's a beautiful ministry. I'm so happy to work for it as well. So you grew up in New Hampshire in a family of 12.
I did.
How did being part of such a large Catholic family shape your understanding of marriage and family life?
Well, I would say that it was nothing but normal for me. So yeah, being one of 12 kids. So there are 11 biological kids, or biologically related kids. And then we have one adopted sister from Mexico. We are one big happy family, truly. I mean, every family has their problems and all that, but I think we're a good group. And I was very, very blessed to be raised by the parents who raised me and to have all these siblings around me. So to answer your question, how did this shape my understanding of family? I sometimes struggled to understand what it would be like to only have one sibling or even just 5 siblings, a small family of 6, for instance, or to be an only child. That was a very foreign concept to me growing up because my idea of normal was a huge household. And my experience was also very particular because of the 12 kids, 10 of us are boys. And so, and it's the full gamut of ages. So the oldest is 38 and the youngest is 14. And so, and I'm right in the middle of all the kids. So I'm not exactly in the middle, but I'm number 5. So I'm a middle child, but I'm in the upper half for sure. And so, because I'm 32, the oldest is 38. There were 5 of us within 6 years. And so, yeah, it was a lot of kids, a lot of boys, but it shaped my whole idea of what a family is, because that's, all of us only have our own experiences to go off directly, and then we can learn from others to see how it was done for them. But yeah, it gave me the understanding that family is supposed to be this big, wild, chaotic thing where you have all these different relationships and you learn about all these other humans, and you have to learn cooperation and learn about their experiences and all that. So for me, it was very normal to live in a big family.
So acting, you studied theater at Franciscan University in Steubenville.
Yeah.
And then later you got your MFA from Brown University.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting path. How did that come about? And then how did those experiences form you, maybe both personally and professionally?
Yeah, I would say that it's the plan at this point feels like it's out of my hands. It feels like God is in charge, and I'm just going where he's taking me, where he wants to use me. That is where I'll go. So my acting journey started back in middle school. Got a part in a play, and I really took a liking to it. I liked being on stage. I liked playing other characters, and that's where I caught the bug a little bit. And then acted in in lead roles throughout plays through high school. And then I got to my senior year of high school, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I was like, what do I bring to the world? What's my gift? What's the thing that I should pursue, double down on? Is it business? Is it, medicine? What am I going to do? How am I going to contribute to society and making the world a better place? And it was actually really funny because a classmate of mine organized a trip for a bunch of us in my class to go visit Franciscan University. And at the time, I didn't really know much about Franciscan, and I had no intention of going there, certainly. And he'd organized a trip for a bunch of us to just drive out from New Hampshire to Ohio and, sit in on some classes and meet with an admissions officer and just kind of get the lay of the land with what's going on at Franciscan. But part of the admissions process is for when you go to visit for the first time is you have to say what major you're most interested in pursuing, so they can kind of put you in what kind of class that you should sit in on, if you will. And when I got to Franciscan, I realized I hadn't filled out this form. My friend had filled it out for me, and he told the admissions officer that I was going to be an acting major, a drama major. And so this was news to me when I showed up at Franciscan for the visit. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm sitting in on some acting classes, and I guess this is what I'm pursuing right now. And after that, 2.5, 3 day experience of visiting Franciscan, seeing the acting world, and just seeing the Franciscan culture more broadly, I was like, yeah, this is one of the easiest choices of my life. I'm going here. I'm going to this college, and I'm going to pursue acting. I don't know where this will go, but this is totally like God just gave me a moment of this is the right thing. He sent me a sign. And so I went to Franciscan for 4 years, majored in acting, was in a number of shows, directed some shows. Learned all kinds of great skills about the acting world. And then when I got to my senior year at Franciscan, I had this strong feeling of, I feel like I've been formed in my faith well, and I feel I've, gotten some understanding in the acting world, but I don't feel fully prepared, fully set in my craft. I don't feel that I am ready to enter the professional space just yet in the way that I know I need to. And so the route for me was continued education, and I wanted to go to an elite program. I knew I wanted to go somewhere that would really make me the best that I could be. And so I took some wild shots, and I applied to 5 top acting schools. And the one that wanted me was Brown University. And so the program is Brown University, and in conjunction with Trinity Repertory Theater, which is the state theater of Rhode Island, which is a really, really interesting program. So it's a 3-year master's. And while you're taking classes full time at Brown, and pursuing your education in acting, directing, writing, and all these different disciplines, you're also working professionally from your first semester onward. You're understanding the professional world of theater and getting cast in shows at Trinity Rep and then other theaters around Providence. And that was a really, really interesting experience because you get to, all day long, you get to learn how to act, and then learn how to act in the classroom, and then go apply it in rehearsals or performances later that night. So it was a really, really cool, formative 3 years. And Franciscan did a really good job of shaping me, personally in my faith. And I made so many great connections and great friends. And then Brown helped to shape me professionally. It went to those schools for different reasons. Of course, I see that in hindsight very clearly now. And that's how I got through that journey. And then how I got to this point. Perhaps maybe we should go there. Just very briefly. So I graduated from Brown, my master's 6 years ago. And my last month and a half at Brown was at the start of the pandemic. And especially in the Northeast was, the theater scene and the acting scene in the Northeast was hit particularly bad. From theaters from Washington up to Boston, there was nothing going on, and there was nothing that was going to go on. There were no plans to reopen theaters for like the next 2 years. And being this, young and hungry artist, I was like, I can't sit idly by for 2 years. I can't do that. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit well with my soul. I got to use my talents. I got to go figure out what to do next. And so I ended up just taking a big risk and throwing whatever possessions I had in my car and driving across the country and moving to Los Angeles. And that's how I got involved with family theater production. They're a media production company based out of Hollywood. They're right there on Sunset Boulevard in the center of Hollywood, and they do a lot of digital media projects, and they also produce movies. And I started meeting Catholics in Los Angeles, and I got connected with family theater just because a lot of the folks I knew folks who worked there. And so I started going to some of their events. And then shortly after that, I was given the opportunity to audition for their show Catholic Central. And that's one of their flagship programs. It's how they get a lot of engagement. And Catholic Central, for those who don't know, it's this fun series. It's basically like a Catholic Answers for young people. How do we make the faith easy and accessible to understand and digest if you just don't know what it means to be a Catholic, what it means to go to Mass, what the sacraments are, what the 10 Commandments are? This is Catholic Central is it's these short comedic videos that are informative, and they're engaging, and they just help young people to understand what the Catholic Church believes and why. And it's never presented in a heavy-handed way. It's not preachy. It's just accessible and easy to understand, and it's inviting. And so I've been making Catholic Central videos now for about 4 years, and going to different events and speaking and all of this. And I've loved the work that we've done there. And we are still continuing to produce more Catholic Central stuff. So stay tuned for more of that.
So you've got these short little catechetical videos that you do.
Yeah.
So how does that experience help you communicate the faith to people that you meet in your ministry work for CCL? How does that help your ability to speak to like a Catholic audience?
Sure. Well, the first thing is working in this ministry on the Catholic Central side. It's reminded me that we are all starting from different places in our faith journey. Whenever we encounter someone, we're usually not in the same place, depending on whatever issue we're talking about. A term that folks like to say is equally yoked. So yeah, are we at the same place in our spiritual journey, in our faith-based journey? And I think it's helped me develop a lot of empathy for folks who perhaps were not blessed to have the same background that I have, which was, being raised in a 2-parent household, faithful Catholics, huge Catholic family, going to good Catholic schools, going to Franciscan. Not everyone is going to have that privilege like I did. And so they might not be where I was on my journey. And granted, something else I've learned is that I can always learn from other folks, even though I'm, usually I find myself in the position of presenting ideas about Catholicism to others. I can always learn from other people's experiences. And I think that is a critical thing to remember for anyone who's working in any kind of Catholic ministry. It's even though you are, an expert, if you will, in communicating these ideas about Catholicism, you can always learn. None of us are perfect, and none of us have full knowledge about the church's teachings or how to be a good human. And so let's continually learn. Let's always practice, empathetic listening and develop a spirit of curiosity, because we can always learn something. But I think in my work as ministry consultant with the Couple to Couple League, if you can learn how to be someone who is a very, very good active listener, and a good researcher as well. So a lot of folks don't know that when it comes to acting school, your research skills have to be a good actor. You have to be such a good researcher, because what that ministry, well, not a ministry, but what the work of acting requires is for you to truly understand the experience of another person. And that is a skill that all of us, regardless of your occupation or your ministry, we could all stand to be able to empathize with the person that we're trying to communicate with, trying to have a conversation with. Understand what their needs are, what they're going through, what problems they need solved. That is applicable to any situation where you're working with other people. And so I would say that's the number one way that it's helped to develop me. And also, if you're in some kind of a ministry role that involves getting up and speaking in front of other people and trying to convey ideas, I mean, that's acting. That's acting right there. That's what getting up on stage is all about. You know what I mean? It's getting up there and telling stories. And oftentimes when it comes to convincing people about the importance of NFP and trying to help them solve their problems or the problems that are arising in their parish or diocese around NFP, I mean, being a good public speaker and being able to convey ideas is essential to that.
Yeah. So when you reach out to a diocese or maybe a parish for the first time, what are you hoping that you can learn from them in order to do your job well?
Yeah, I'm always trying to identify how things are being done and how can we do things better. So
Mm-hmm.
CCL, we exist to serve others. We exist to especially serve other organizations and dioceses and parishes, to help them bring the work of NFP into more marriages. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so what I'm always looking to do is identify what's going on with the diocese or parish and how can we help identify those gaps, because we exist to
Mm-hmm.
make their ministry easier. We want to support marriage and family life offices at any level. So
Right, right.
that's what I'm looking to learn, at least in an initial meeting. And then from there, we'll be
Mm-hmm.
able to identify, okay, this is a way that CCL could help, or we present some
Right,
ideas of how we could help that perhaps the diocese hasn't thought about.
right, right.
There's always opportunities to grow this ministry.
Right, right. So, what are some of the common things that you've noticed in a diocese or a parish? I mean, are they overwhelmed? Are they kind of unaware of what's available? Are they eager to do something but really kind of unsure of where to begin? Like, where do you find them mostly?
The issues and the challenges tend to be different at the diocesan level versus the parish level. At the
Mm-hmm.
diocesan level, it's usually
Okay.
understaffing and underfunding. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just dioceses are stretched so thin. They're stretched so thin in today's world, and many diocesan staff, especially at marriage and family life offices, are doing like 3 or 4 different jobs.
Okay.
So I've certainly learned to have a lot of respect for those who work at
Yeah.
dioceses, because that's
Yeah.
no easy feat.
No,
The amount of
no.
work that they have to handle.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and so, honestly, that's also why we're here, to help support them when they are understaffed and they need an
Right.
organization to help them out. So at the diocesan level, they're usually aware of who CCL is, or
Okay.
very aware of NFP ministry and all this. This is something that is well talked about at the diocesan level.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and so they usually know who we are and are willing to cooperate with us and try and help us all, solve the problem together. At the parish level, so at the diocesan level, awareness is not the issue. At the parish level, this is far more common. At the parish level, it's oftentimes they might not know what resources are out there. That's very, very common.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
Mm-hmm.
they too are understaffed, and they don't know how to implement new courses or get these materials out to couples,
Mm-hmm.
because they have just this massive list of priorities, and oftentimes natural family planning is left up to the couple themselves, and it's so far down on the priorities list for the parish
Right.
that it
Right.
just kind of falls to the wayside. And
Okay.
and that's how CCO can come in and help. We can help to alleviate that workload for parishes. We can be an
Right.
easy resources for folks to access
Right.
NFP classes and materials.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, how do you approach that kind of conversation, Nick,
Mhm.
with a pastor or, maybe even in the diocese
Yeah.
about NFP in a way that really feels inviting rather than burdensome,
Mhm.
something another thing they have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think starting from a place of trying to understand where they're at first, let them voice their own needs so that we can come in and help with what they're already building, rather than just kind of ignoring what they're saying and just dive right in with, hey, this is what I want to get across to you. That's not the way to do
Sure.
it. That's not the way to do it.
Okay.
Let's when we're speaking to pastors, when we're speaking to parish leaders, what
Mm-hmm.
struggles are they currently facing? Okay,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
let's be good listeners. Let's
Mm-hmm.
help to actually identify the problems, or help to solve the problems that they've done the work to identify, because they know their parish better than I will,
Right.
better than any of us will, because we're not in the parish, we're not in their particular community, we're on the
Sure.
outside,
Sure.
and we're not coming in to help to rework how they run things. We're just coming to
Mm-hmm.
in to assist what they're already doing.
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, that tends to build good trust between
Yeah.
CCL and parishes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what excites you most about helping a parish promote natural family planning?
Well, this was not a few years ago. This was not something that I was excited about at all, because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Sure.
Um, yeah, so I've been married now for only 2 years, but it's been two
Oh,
of the best years of my life, without a doubt.
oh,
Um,
yeah.
yes, I'm married to my beautiful wife Kathleen. We're expecting our first baby. Um, it
Yay.
just by time this airs, I think the baby will be here. But basically, the baby's due
Mhm.
anytime. Yeah, and so beginning to build a family of my own
Yeah.
has made me realize how important this is. Because as a single person, especially a single guy, This is not something, NFP is not something you think about.
No.
It's not, it's why would it? Because it's not really all that relevant to my everyday life at that point.
Sure.
It's an
Yeah.
important thing for married couples, and supporting married couples is a good thing
Hmm.
as a single
Hmm.
person.
Right.
But until you're actually in a marriage and living it,
Hmm.
that's when you really realize, okay,
Yeah.
this is not something that can be neglected. This is a really, really
Hmm.
serious conversation that needs to be
Hmm.
had between a
Yeah.
husband and a wife, and something that needs to be worked out and addressed. Um, you know, few things are more important in marriage than understanding each other and sexuality. It's
Yeah.
critical. It's critical to the
Yeah.
marriage being healthy and holy and happy. All of these things. And so
Yeah.
I now have a very strong personal investment in NFP because I know what it's done for my marriage and what it's doing for my family. I see the
Hmm.
benefits every single day, and I see. And now because I'm doing this, it's woken me up to seeing all of the other couples that I know who practice NFP or don't practice NFP, and to see and to check in with them and see how things are going, and
Oh,
what this ministry has meant for their own marriage.
right.
And
Right.
I will say that the couples who practice NFP diligently, they love it. It is nothing but good for them. Um,
Good.
the responses are always overwhelmingly positive, and I hear so often from couples who have practiced NFP for years now, like they couldn't imagine their relationship without it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just produces
That
such
is a common theme. Yeah.
cooperation
Yeah.
and harmony between spouses, because it helps
Right.
you understand each other and
Right.
communicate better. And so
Yeah. So
I
when you're talking
couldn't be a
about,
bigger fan.
sorry, yeah. So when you're talking to a parish, you've got that personal experience now that you can use when you're talking with them,
Yeah.
and relaying just how really important it is for parishes to get their couples to take that NFP class before they get married. So
Yes, yes. Having that personal experience, I think,
mhm.
just adds this complete other layer to, because there's a difference between like knowing that something is good for people and actually
Yes.
living it yourself and being
Yeah,
like, yes,
absolutely.
I know that this is good for us because I'm
Exactly.
seeing the fruits of it. I'm seeing the results.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm very passionate about this. And it's
Right.
something that I did not expect to be passionate about, but here we
Yeah.
are.
There we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
You and your wife, did you learn natural family planning before you got married? Was it part of your marriage prep process?
It was not. So
Oh, okay.
so we in the Archdiocese of, so I'm based in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, and we have so many wonderful priests and so many wonderful clergy. Yeah, our marriage prep process is largely dependent in our archdiocese is largely dependent on what the pastor is able to guide us through and teach
Mm,
us. And
okay.
pastors are pretty overwhelmed when it comes to
I
marriage prep,
can
because they
imagine.
already have so little time, especially at a big parish like we're at.
Okay.
They have so little time to have conversations, to get any free time, and
Mm,
and NFP tends to fall kind of to the wayside. Um,
okay.
however, we did get a very brief overview of the concept of NFP when we went to our engaged encounter,
All right.
which was recommended by our pastor that we go and attend that. And so
Great.
we did a marriage prep weekend, engaged encounter down
Okay.
in down near San Diego,
Okay.
and it was good. There were a lot of great things about it, but when it
Hmm.
comes to
Hmm.
NFP, it was a very, very small part of the
I
conversation.
imagine. Yeah.
And so my wife
Yeah.
and I, we both understood, just based on our formation as Catholics, we understood that NFP was something that we should strongly consider. Um,
Hmm.
we should
Hmm.
consider learning. And so, actually, my wife's sister pointed us in the direction of CCL, because she had taken
Oh,
the full course from CCL.
okay.
And going into it, I didn't know what to expect. We took the video based course from the
Okay.
comfort of our own home. We were matched with a wonderful teaching couple, and after taking that class, I was surprised, because it just opened my eyes. I thought I understood, like,
Mm.
at least a little bit of what natural family planning means, but I was like, I didn't know anything. And this is very in depth. It's not that hard to
Wow.
learn, but it does require the commitment of actually sitting down,
Yeah.
going to class, and getting this thing done, and paying attention, and really trying to let it all sink in. And then later on in your marriage, practicing it.
Right.
But my goodness, I just did not know what I did not know until I got there. And the CCL class was I mean, well, that's how I heard about the Couple to Couple League, and it was
Mm-hmm.
I was so impressed with the material.
Mm,
Um,
that's wonderful.
Not just what was taught, but the way it was taught. It was
Okay.
extremely professional and informative, but also inviting. It wasn't dry. It was
Mm,
engaging. Um,
yeah.
I could go on and on about the good things about taking the class, but
Sure.
it was
Sure.
very impactful for me and my wife.
Wonderful. Yeah. Just to wrap things up then, Nick, like on a personal level,
Yeah.
what would you tell another maybe engaged couple
Hmm.
about learning natural family planning and what kind of
Hmm.
impact it can have on their marriage for years to come?
Yes, I would say um, if Catholic marriage is what you're seeking, it's clear that you're committed to the idea of a lifelong bond, a lifelong commitment to another person, and you're very, very invested in this working out.
Mm,
If I could give you one tool to help your relationship in a way that you might not expect, I would say take NFP. It's going to have just this outsized impact for your life. The benefits will go so far beyond just learning a particular scientific method of tracking your fertility cycle.
mm,
Um,
mhm.
the benefits that it will bring for both men and women in the way that you will have to cooperate with each other and understand each other and really have empathy for each other's experience. I think it's hard to replicate that in any other way apart from
Yeah.
natural family planning and fertility awareness. So I would
Right.
say if you want, it's clear that you are invested in Catholic marriage. This is what you want. If you
Hmm.
want it to work out, this is a really, really helpful tool. So I'd say go for it.
Right. Right. Wonderful. Thank you, Nick. Thanks for being on the podcast, Nick. I appreciate it so much.
Of course. Thank you, Martha. It has been a pleasure.
All right. God bless.
God bless.